Welcome to Let's Go Dutch. I'm Veronica Lewis, and today we're in the town with the cheesy name.
We already used that opening in Edam.
We did? Oh, dat klop.
Take two.
And today we're in the town with the Gouda name. Gouda!
Cut. I got the Gouda part, but the city name is Gouda.
Gouda.
So we need something that rhymes with Gouda.
Oh, Gouda.
Take three.
We're in the city, not known for its chowder. Gouda!
I'm gonna travel the world. I'm gonna go where the Dutch have been, and I'm gonna share it with you, my friends. Let's go Dutch. Let's go Dutch. Let's go Dutch.
We'll visit another city where cheese reigns supreme, with a town hall like you've never seen. And if we hadn't yet had our fill of cheese, we'll head to Alkmaar, home of the best-known cheese market. So put on your clogs and let's go Dutch. Gouda is situated along the Goudse River in the eastern part of the South Holland province. Now in English we say Gouda, and that's all Gouda. But it'll be more exotic when you tell people back home that you went to the ancient city of Gouda. They'll say,
Oh, Gouda! What the heck is Gouda?
The town name and that of the river come from the Van de Gouda family, whose castle was in the area, now occupied by the Janskerk. The town charter was granted by Count Floris V in 1272. Originally, the cloth-making and beer-brewing industries were big here, but things started to sour when the Flemish started brewing their own beer. And we know how good that is. In the 17th century, candle and pipe making was big here, but it was the cheese industry leading the way. Did you like that? Way? And speaking of way, we're on our way to the market. Just before the markt is the Waag, the weigh house. In the Middle Ages, before goods went to be sold, they had to pass through the Waag, where a tax was then levied. The building is in a Dutch classical style and was built in 1668. Notice the relief on the front. Flanking the relief are the coat of arms of the four burgemeesters in 1668. The burgemeester was the mayor. Inside the Waag is a cheese museum and also the tourist office. In the Netherlands, the triple V's are the symbol of the tourist office. The kaasmarkt takes place out here on the Waag plain. It's really colorful. They line the cheese up, then the horse and buggy comes down the center. The kaasmarkt takes place on Thursdays from the end of June until the end of August. Here's how it works. While in Alkmaar the cheese is brought by boat, in Gouda, horse wagons bring the cheese to the Waag to be weighed. They are laid out in rows where the cheese is inspected and tasted. Deals are made in the traditional handjeklap way. To be weighed, and the kaasmaatjes, they're handing out samples of Gouda cheese. Ah, it's really wonderful. Now we're going to head over to the market. This is the markt, and since medieval days, the site of the main market. Imagine, there would be stalls all around selling everything from Gouda clay pipes to... Why don't I just show you what it looks like on market day? That was way too cool. Some interesting stuff there. Now, typical of the mark in most Dutch towns, the centerpiece is the stadhuis. Some of the stadhuizen we've seen, like Maastricht, Den Bosch, and even Amsterdam, are in a neoclassical style. You're not a fan of that style, niet waar?
Nay, I find it too plain. And so did the people of Gouda.
He's right. Check out this whimsical stadhuis.
The original town hall burnt down in 1438. This one, with all its pinnacles, was finished around 1450. The Renaissance staircase was added in 1603. Every half hour, the carillon rings, and there's a little procession of figures. They depict Count Floris V granting the town charter in 1272.
Zaal means hall, and trouwe means marriage. That's right, this is the marriage hall. Ja hoor.
Ja hoor. This is the part where I kiss the bride.
Another kiss. Although Gouda was a very blue-collar type town, there were a bunch of stained glass artisans around. A lot of the stained glass windows in churches of the Low Countries originated here in Gouda.
And speaking of stained glass windows, this church is famous for them. It's the St. Jan's Kerk, built in 1485. Then after a fire in 1552, rebuilt.
The church, originally Catholic, became Protestant after the Reformation. Now, while the Calvinist Protestants were going around smashing the trappings of the Catholic churches, they didn't have the heart to destroy these stained glass windows. Philip II of Spain donated some of the windows, such as the Last Supper, which he donated in 1577. Here is a 1603 depiction of the Relief of Leyden. Pictured are Willem the Silent, who led the resistance against the Spanish siege in 1574. Willem himself donated this one in 1567. It's called The Purification of the Temple, symbolizing the Dutch desire to drive out the Spanish. This one was donated by the Fishermen's Guild in 1565. It's Jonah and the Whale. Right next door is a window donated by the Butchers Guild, Balaam and his ass. The city of Haarlem donated this one in 1596. Dutch crusaders capturing Damietta. Not to be outdone, the city of Dordrecht had this one made.
This is called the Lazarus Gate. It's made of sandstone and goes back to 1609. It leads into the Catharina Gasthuis, which is a 14th century hospital. It's now called the Stedelijk Museum. So let's Stedelijk on in. It's quite cool, really. The Stedelijk, our municipal museum, sits right behind the St. Janskerk. In fact, the street is called Achter de Kerk, which means behind the church street. The museum has period rooms, paintings, and local pottery known as House Patel. The basement is downright medieval, and they have a fine collection of civic guard portraits. Oh, and they have a piano too. This is a nice picturesque view. This is called the Visbakken. For more insight, let's turn to our resident historian.
The Visbanken. So named because this is where the wealthier fish came to do their banking. The plebe fish, they just kept their money under mattresses of sand and rock. But the problem was that there's all these bottom feeders always poking their noses around. And that is niet goed.
I said historian, not storyteller.
Historian. Okay. The Visbanken. In the Middle Ages, this is where fish was traded. On this side, known as the Lage Gouwe, which is the Low Gouwe River, merchants from Gouda traded. And on this side, known as the Hoge Gouwe, or the High Gouwe River, it was merchants from outside of Gouda trading. They had fish coming in from everywhere. The Gouda port was right in the middle of the routes from North Holland to South Holland and Flanders.
That's it for our first stop on the cheese trail. Next up, the stop with the best-known kaasmarkt on the tourist agenda, Alkmaar. And just like that, here we are in Alkmaar. From Amsterdam, it's just a 36-minute train ride. The traditional kaasmarkt takes place in season on Friday mornings. It's quite lovely, really, and it's great for the tourist. But what if it's not Friday, or it's out of season? Is that a reason not to visit Alkmaar? Billy Eric?
Nay, absolutely not.
Okay, you've missed the cheese market. Now what? What if it's October 8th to be exact? If you visit Alkmaar then, you'll be rewarded with the relief of Alkmaar celebration. We'll get to that part, but first, a little early history.
Alkmaar received its town charter in 1254 from Count Willem II. Originally, Alkmaar was a fortress town during wars with the West Frisians.
Who were the West Frisians?
They were Germanic tribes to the northwest. The Counts of Holland spent years trying to assert their rule over them.
How'd they do?
In the beginning, not so good. The Frisians were tough and proud, but eventually they were subdued. And in 1524, Friesland became one of the Dutch provinces.
Okay, back to Alkmaar.
Alkmaar was surrounded on three sides by lakes, and because of that position in the middle, they charged tolls and taxes on goods coming through. And so the town prospered.
But then...
August 1573. The 80 Years' War with Spain was underway, and Alkmaar was under siege. The people, however, managed to break the siege on October 8th.
From Alkmaar to victory!
That's a famous quote in Dutch history. The relief of Alkmaar was a turning point in the war for independence from Spain.
Each year on the 8th of October, the city comes alive with the Relief of Alkmaar celebration. On the tourist map of Alkmaar, there's a house called Huis met de Kogel. Kogel means bullet or ball. In this case, it means cannonball. It's the house with the cannonball. Doesn't every house come with a cannonball? There's the house, and there's the cannonball. Billy Eric, go get that cannonball out so we can show our audience. Wait, don't do that. But do tell us what it's all about.
It's that nasty Spanish siege we've heard about. The cannonball hit the house in 1573. No one was hurt, but a chair was destroyed.
My favorite chair.
Days later, when the siege was broken, the owner mounted the cannonball as thanks for sparing them and the city.
For another look at the victory of Alkmaar, we have the Stedelijk Museum. Several Dutch cities have a Stedelijk Museum. That means municipal museum. Alkmaar's has a fine collection presenting the relief of Alkmaar and the golden age of Alkmaar. This is Alkmaar's Bach, and remarkably different from the usual little classical buildings they tend to be. There's a good reason for that. In 1390, it was the Heilige Geestkapel, the Holy Ghost Chapel. In 1576, it became the Way House and was given this lovely Renaissance facade. The tower has a glockenspiel. And here we have the Stadthouse. These lions are holding the coat of arms of the mayors back in the Golden Age. Stylistically, we have Renaissance and Gothic. The Renaissance facade dates back to the 17th century. The Gothic part, which includes the tower, was built between 1509 and 1520. Next to the Stadthouse is the Morianshoofd. That means Moor's Head. This building, with its sculpture-topped bay window, dates from 1748. Originally a burger's house. Later it was a tavern. The name is a nod to the Moor's Head hopper, typically displayed above the door of the pharmacist. It was the tavern's way of saying they too had good medicine. Another pair of beautiful Renaissance houses. The Honestein tells us this house is from 1623. But check out this facade. Ships, cannons. My guess is this was the home of a sea captain. The Dutch certainly were a powerhouse at sea. This stretch here is called meat. What does that mean? It means it's a street worth checking out. I can't let this one go. See that house up there with the lions?
That's Leeuwenburg, which means Lion's Castle. Back in 1707, when Jacob Leeuwenburg was redesigning his facade, he grew quite annoyed at the amount of time it was taking to get his building permits.
He showed his appreciation by facing the lions on the facade backwards, so their little tushkas are facing the city coat of arms. At the end of Meet, we have the Vismarkt.
Typical of the fish markets of the Low Countries, you can see the familiar columns and tables. The fish market was always next to a canal, as it was their source of water, and of course, the fish came by boat.
That tower is the Accijnstoren, the excise tower.
Situated along the North Holland Canal, this tower was used by the city to exercise its right to excise a tax on goods heading through town.
In 1824, the North Holland Canal opened. Alkmaar managed to have it built going through parts of town, hoping to preserve their trade prosperity.
It didn't work though. The town had been a midpoint hub where merchants and travelers would spend the night and then move on. With the new waterway, they just kept moving without stopping.
We're going to pop into the St. Laurenskerk. This church, dating from 1520, houses the tomb of Count Floris V. He gave city charters to several Dutch towns, including Gouda.
Gouda and Alkmaar, two charming Dutch cities, each with their own character. Gouda with its fantasy castle stadhouse, and Alkmaar with its chapel of cheese. And of course, seeing the Netherlands by bike makes it, well, a breeze. I hope you've enjoyed today's trek from Gouda to Alkmaar. I'm Veronica Lewis. Join us again next time on Let's Go Dutch as we explore more of Holland and beyond. That seems.